Ethan never thought silence could feel so heavy. Out in the desert, silence was normal. The wind whispered across the sand dunes, carrying grains like tiny needles against his skin. Nights were colder than anyone expected. He was used to the loneliness. He had lived with it for years. But tonight the silence felt different. It wasn't just emptiness. It was absence. It was the feeling of someone missing. He thought about Liara. She had come into his life so suddenly, like a storm. A strange alien woman, half-starved, stumbling into his camp one freezing night. She had whispered, almost too weak to speak. "It's survival ritual. I must stay close. Warmth." At first, Ethan thought she was joking, or worse, delirious. But she had collapsed into his arms, trembling and near death from the cold desert night. He couldn't push her away. He had pulled her into his tent, wrapped her in blankets, and sat beside her all night while she pressed close to him. It had started as an act of mercy, but it became more than that. For weeks, they survived together. They shared food, stories, and silence. She taught him how her people found strength in connection, how the survival ritual wasn't only about keeping the body alive, it was about keeping the spirit from breaking. Humans had their own ways of doing that, though they never gave it a name. And then she was gone, rescued by her own kind, taken to safety. She had asked him to come with her, but Ethan had refused. He was a nomad. The desert was his home. He told himself it was better this way, that she was safe and that was enough. But deep down he knew he had lost something. Ethan sat by his campfire now, staring at the flames. He felt the distance like a weight on his chest. It wasn't just miles of sand that separated them. It was entire worlds, cultures, and choices. He remembered the way Liara looked at him when she left. Not just gratitude, something deeper. Something that made him wonder if she had meant more by her words about the ritual. He wanted to reconnect, to see her again, to ask her what she really meant when she said they were life-bonded now. But how could he? He had no ship, no way to cross the stars. He was just one man in the desert. Still, the thought never left him. Humans were stubborn like that. They held on, even when the universe told them to let go. The nights grew colder as the season shifted. Ethan felt the chill more sharply without her there. He would roll into his blankets, but it wasn't the same. He missed the quiet comfort of another heartbeat close to his own. One night he found himself speaking out loud to the fire. "I don't even know if you think of me anymore," he said softly, as if Liara could hear him. "But I think of you, every night, every morning. I wish I knew how to reach you." His words vanished into the empty air, carried away by the wind. Yet saying them made him feel lighter, even if just a little. Days passed. Ethan kept moving across the desert, trading with small villages, repairing old tools, scavenging scraps. Survival kept his hands busy, but his heart restless. Every time he saw the stars at night, he thought of her. Somewhere out there, Liara was alive. Maybe she looked at the same sky. Maybe she remembered the human who gave her his last drop of water, who stayed awake all night to keep her alive. That hope kept him going. One evening, while walking along the ridge of a dune, Ethan found something unusual, a piece of metal half buried in the sand. Not human metal, sleek, smooth, curved like nothing forged on Earth. His pulse quickened. It was a shard of alien technology, maybe wreckage from the same raiders who had attacked Liara's ship. Maybe a sign. He lifted it, staring at the faint glow along its edge. He didn't know how to use it, but he felt a strange sense of connection, like the universe was reminding him that he wasn't as far from her as he thought. That night, he dreamed. He dreamed of Liara, standing by his campfire, her eyes reflecting the flames. She said nothing, but reached out her hand. He took it, and the desert around them shifted into stars. When he woke, the dream still clung to him. He felt sad, but also filled with a quiet determination. He didn't know how, but he would find a way back to her. Humans always did the impossible when it mattered. For now, all Ethan could do was survive, keep moving, and hold on to hope. The fee. Desert was vast, but hope made it bearable. He whispered to the night sky before he slept. "One day I'll see you again. I don't know when, but I will." And as he closed his eyes, the memory replayed in his mind. The night she stumbled into his camp, weak and shivering, and whispered words that bound them together forever. She crawled into my bed, claiming alien survival ritual. The desert stretched endlessly before Ethan. Days blurred together in a mix of heat, hunger, and survival. Yet no matter how far he walked, one thought never left him. Liara. Her absence was not like the emptiness of the dunes. It was sharper, heavier. He could endure the silence of the desert, but he struggled with the silence of his heart. Every night, when the stars spilled across the sky, he looked up and whispered her name. Somewhere among those lights, she lived. He didn't know if she remembered him, but he hoped she did. Hope was all he had. And humans, he reminded himself, could live on hope longer than anyone else. One evening, Ethan reached a small outpost, a scattering of huts built around a broken water pump. He scavenged tools for dried meat and sat quietly as the villagers spoke of rumors. "Skylights," one man said. "Saw them last week, not raiders this time, different, like ships but not human." Ethan's heart quickened. "Where?" he asked. The man shrugged. "Far east, over the mountains. They didn't land, though. Just passed." Ethan thought of Liara. Could it have been her people? Maybe too far to know. Still, the idea gave him strength. At night in the outpost, Ethan lay awake on a rough cot. The sounds of distant wind rattled the wooden walls. He thought about the ritual Liara had spoken of, the closeness, the bond. He had always believed humans survived alone because they were strong. But Liara showed him another truth. Sometimes survival was about connection, about not letting someone else face the cold alone. Now, lying in a hut without her presence beside him, he realized how much that connection mattered. He missed it more than food, more than comfort. The next morning, Ethan left the outpost and followed the old trade path toward the mountains. The path was dangerous, filled with bandits and raiders, but danger no longer frightened him. What frightened him was never seeing her again. Each step was a silent promise. "I will find a way back to you." Days passed. Ethan walked until his feet bled and the sun burned his skin raw. Still, he pressed forward. At night, he built small fires, staring into the flames as if they could carry his thoughts across the stars. He began to talk more often to the night. "Don't know if you can hear me," he whispered. "But I'm trying, Liara. I don't want to let this distance stay forever." His voice cracked with sadness, but beneath it was the iron thread of human will. Halfway through the mountains, Ethan discovered another piece of alien wreckage. This one was larger, part of a hull, burned and scarred by battle. He touched the strange metal. His reflection shimmered faintly on its surface. For a moment, he imagined Liara's face there, her eyes bright, her voice soft. "Are you leaving?" "Me signs," he murmured. It felt foolish to speak aloud, but at the same time he knew it wasn't foolish at all. Humans needed to believe that even in the coldest void they were not forgotten. That night, Ethan had another dream. Liara stood at the edge of his fire again, silent but watching. Her eyes were full of sorrow and longing. She raised her hand toward him, but this time she spoke. "Don't give up. The bond is real." Ethan woke with tears on his face. He didn't know if it was only his mind, or if she truly reached across the stars somehow, but he believed. Belief was enough. The climb through the mountains tested him. Harsh winds tore at his clothes, and the cold gnawed at his bones. He remembered how Liara had once pressed against him for warmth. Alone, he wrapped himself tightly in his cloak and whispered to the empty air, "You survived with me. Now I'll survive for you." The words kept him moving. Humans had always been stubborn, too stubborn to freeze. too stubborn to quit. The other side of the mountains lay a wide valley, empty and quiet. Ethan found an abandoned comms tower, long dead but still standing like a broken finger pointing at the sky. He climbed it, metal groaning under his weight, until he reached the top. There he sat and stared at the stars. He wanted to send a message. He wanted to shout into the void, "I'm here. I remember you. Do you remember me?" But the tower was dead. His voice could not reach beyond the valley. So he did the only thing he could. He spoke aloud, letting the night carry his words. "Liara, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you think of me, but I won't stop thinking of you. Even if the distance is endless, I'll keep walking toward you. That's what humans do. We keep moving forward." The wind was cold, but Ethan smiled faintly. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his chest felt lighter. He realized something. He didn't need to know how to reconnect yet. He only needed to believe that it was possible. Hope was the first step. And if there was one thing humanity was known for, it was turning impossible hopes into reality. Ethan descended from the tower with a new fire in his heart. The distance between him and Liara was still vast. He had no ship, no signal, no path. But he refused to let that stop him. One day, somehow, he would see her again. The stars had heard his promise, and Ethan knew. Humans never broke promises that came from the heart.